Hello, 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 everyone. Wow, what a massive week this week for the start of new trends. Welcome to CEO Sanctum. So most people keep their heads down all of their lives just trying to do their thing, and then they find out they're stuck in traps, and then they spend time trying to get stuck in under out and stuck out of their traps. And or they stay connected to their politics and find out they're 100% wrong or misinformed half of the time as the other parties in power. CEO Sanctum is produced for Friends of Capital Markets Branding, who run organizations, and they know they need to keep their eyes well out on the forefront of the prize. And maybe they like their politics, but they check their politics in pursuit of the truth, because we really have to know what's going on, no matter whether our team's losing or not. We know we need to be in control and know what's happening. So our goal here is to keep everybody abreast of what's coming over the horizon, what the long-term trends are as they start, so we can make plans and we can be in position. So this week, it was a teachable moment for my son, my soon-to-be teenage son, with his cell phone. Our biggest concern is we all know boys like to look at girls, and it's like, man, you can't put that stuff on your phone. Whatever you do, it's an evidence trail. We all like to do the things we like to do, but you can't put it on your phone. And Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, $140 billion divorce, and he's got dick pics that he sent to his buddy's wife. At the end of the day, all of the noise, everything, you've got one of the richest men in the world sending dick pics to his buddy's wife. The rest of it is just word soup. What do you say? I mean, I can't ever have him. You can't go throw around a ball with him or take him fishing or have him hang out with your family. I mean, that's rule number one of all relations. I mean, girls, you don't date your ex-girlfriend's boyfriends. Guys, you don't do that stuff. And he's got dick pics on his phone. And he's whining in Drudge Report that somebody hacked his phone. Who should have known better? I mean, all the money in the world, and you can't fix stupid. So it was a great teachable moment. It's like, told my son, you can't do that stuff. Look, it's the world's richest man, and he's got a dick pic problem. You think you can avoid it? Don't ever put that stuff on your phone. I don't care. Just don't do it. So yeah, it was a great week. I mean, we'll print that off and stick it on his bedroom door to remind him forever. But you start out the week, you go back to the State of the Union, and at the opening of the State of the Union, Trump hits us with this Nazi war theme. 75th anniversary of D-Day, and bringing out Holocaust survivors and soldiers who climbed the cliffs of Normandy, who freed these survivors. And, it was really heartwarming and it was touching, but it was a little bit confusing to people who don't really follow what's going on. And without drilling too much into it, Trump's starting the second half of his presidency, where he's finally starting to throw cards out there. What we're going to find throughout his presidency is everything he's done this far and everything he's going to finish doing is about unwinding, Hydra, the Operation Paperclip. Go back if you really want to, pop culture review, go watch Winter Soldier. And we had this thing called Operation Paperclip, where we integrated, survivors of World War II from the Nazis, and did it ever really die? And you can also find a great, Money Masters is a great documentary on YouTube. He'll pull it all together for you. If you spend 3 hours watching that document, nobody's going to spend 3 hours because nobody cares. But this is what's happening. So Trump's unwinding effectively what was referred to as Hydra in Winter Soldier, and it's got a lot of people rattled. So you can look it up and you can go watch the movie to come up to speed. But it was a moving speech. I mean, he's completely usurped the Democratic agenda, the legacy Democrat agenda. You got peace, unwinding military conflicts, raising wages, fighting human trafficking, and he's completely dissembled the Republican Party leadership from the inside. Why Democrats hate him, I don't know. I mean, if you would have told Dems 5 years ago, a moderate from New York was going to come in and dismantle the Republican leadership, raise wages, pull back on military conflicts, they'd been jumping in the streets. Highest women in Congress, highest Mexican employment, highest black employment, and they hate the guy. So I don't know. I just, it is what it is, and he's moving forward with that. But you've got this unwind of a lot of bad things that have been happening. We saw in Los Angeles this week the military operations. They called it practicing, but it was raids. There's a great thread that summed up a lot of the events on Twitter. The Twitter user is MilSpecP, MILSPECP. He pulled together a great thread summarizing a lot of the stuff, a lot of evidence from the ground, as to what's happening. And it looks like this is tied in with the NXIVM sex trafficking case. It's pretty heavy stuff when the government sends military copters to take stuff out of your building. But it looks like it's tied together with NXIVM, the reopening of the Epstein prosecution, the John of God arrest in Brazil. That UK's Mirror had a great article on that and was talking about the baby farmings for trafficking. So Trump's getting a lot of this stuff pushed. He's giving it pushback, and that ties in with the heroin trafficking. That's coming from. Supposedly coming from Iran through Hezbollah into Venezuela. You're not going to see too much on that. You're just going to see a whole bunch of stuff how Venezuela are bad people and they're socialist and they're starving and all that other stuff that sells good in the media. But this is, this ties together with the whole global trafficking that he's working back, and that's gonna tie back into, well, who's been writing favorable policies? That's going to be coming up over the next year or two. It's like, who's been writing favorable policies to make sure that we don't have a border wall, to make sure that, our border guards are kind of hamstrung, to make sure that, people get caught and released. Who's been taking money as a politician to make sure that, these events stay open? So that's coming. That's coming up soon. But as this stuff is getting dismantled, and he's making some really big headway. You'll never see it in the mainstream media, but you can look through. If you look up NXIVM, NXIVM, sex trafficking, that's the Allison Mack case. You can look up John of God in Brazil. The Mirror has a great article on that. Look up anything from Epstein and his Lolita Express. All of that's coming forward. So as he's going through and he's making headway, and we've had a ton of arrests for bankers, bankers and money laundering, and the legacy power structure, the legacy power families, their options for combat, for weaponry is really getting kind of thin. You're at the point now where, everything's exposed. Everyone's got a cell phone, and everything's recorded and the truth is coming out. But the only thing they really have left now is banking. So you've got the question of who owns the large banks. What companies do the large banks own? And what type of retribution can they take out on Trump or Trump supporters? And so this week we saw Proud Boys. They were banned. Chase sent them a letter saying your accounts are closed. This was after they were pushed out of Facebook, Facebook, Twitter, all of their social media closed. Stripe, PayPal, their ways to take money. They were just closed off. The corporatocracy came through and said, you know what? You're black Cuban Trump supporters. Now you're black Cuban Trump supporters that have no access to the capital markets. You have no access to bankability. You've got no access to the financial system. You're done. That's kind of scary. In biblical terms, that means you can't do business without the mark of the beast. Are we there? Who knows? Lots of people would love to speculate on that. So we're at the point now where the legacy control families are wielding pushback through banking and participation in the corporatocracy. We'll have to see where that goes. What that did is when you go through and you close out a political voice based on their politics in a world where intermediaries on the whole have been displaced. I mean, you don't need news organizations because everything is peer-to-peer news transmission now. You don't need What don't you need? Auto dealerships. I mean, as we go to electric vehicles and the first round of maintenance is, your first scheduled maintenance is 150,000 miles. Do you really need dealers? Well, no. I mean, that's why you're pushing cars out Sam's Club, and that's why you'll have big box retail. And when the Chinese cars are here at $9,000 a unit for two-seater EVs, you really won't need dealers anymore. We're in a world where you don't need stockbrokers. The guy who used to call you and say, Mr. Jones, IBM is looking great. He doesn't exist. I mean, if you want to be in the markets, you go to your E-Trade account or your Ameritrade or your Interactive Brokers account. You don't need intermediaries anymore. And, as long as you have the ability to raise capital, peer-to-peer through crowdfunding, 506c offerings, do you really need large banks? Well, you need a way to do transactions, financial transactions. And so now you've got cryptocurrencies. The question is which cryptocurrency? But the reality is you've got these large banks who are now following the Twitter model. I mean, Twitter and Facebook, they've been sanctioning or shutting off speech that they found unfavorable. A lot of it's based on politics. I mean, that's the way it works. For the people on the right who are complaining that their stuff got shut off, well, you go build a Facebook and defend it how you want. I mean, I don't think it's a good business decision taking off half your customers, but if Zuckerberg's politics are to the left and he doesn't want right-wing speech on his platform, well, go start another Facebook. Same thing with Twitter. But when they do that, you push people out of the marketplace. And now when you do that based solely on politics and you do it with banking and financial transactions, you're forcing half of your customers. This week with Chase, they threw down the gauntlet and they said, we're forcing half of our customers based on politics. If you are a conservative, you need to have a plan B for bankability. So J.P. Morgan Chase was shutting off Proud Boys, just guaranteed, wrote it in stone forever. We will use cryptocurrencies. They will not die, and big banks will die because customers are going to have to choose a different option. I mean, if I find that I'm politically out of favor with this administration or the next administration, whoever's running the banks, and I go in one day to get a letter and find out I can't participate, I'm done. So I have to have a plan B. Everyone now has to have a plan B. The world is different. Jamie Dimon, knucklehead of the world, he just threw away the big banks. He threw away the big banks with Proud Boys. It's only a matter of time. So the question is what comes in? And the answer, and it's my opinion, I have no money coming from these people. I have no commercial relationship. But ARCA Funds is pulling together, is registering or in the process of registering a U.S. Treasuries fund that will trade on a tokenized basis. They're an SEC registered advisor. The fund will be an SEC registered product. It will take currency and put it, cash, fiat currency, and put it into a trust, which then buys U.S. Treasuries. So you not only have a stable coin, you have a stable coin that is tethered directly to U.S. government treasuries and receives interest, taxable interest on your money, and it will be a tradable token. If the government is ever going to endorse anything, it would be implied endorsement, but it's going to be this short-term treasury. The cash goes to the government. They're buying government treasuries. It's registered as a product. The company that runs it is registered with the SEC. They will be audited regularly by the government. ARCA Funds, and they've got the right bios to pull it together. If you go through, you'll find, the portfolio manager is Jeff Dorman, and he's had a great career at multiple large institutions, Merrill Lynch, Citadel, and others, and he, incredible reach through his time at Harvest, building out Harvest.com, and their CEO, I'm sorry, Rain, but I'll think of it after the podcast is done. He and his brother built out Wisdom Tree Funds. It's a $60 billion mutual fund company. So they've got they've got the right reach, they've got the right bios, they've got the right political connections. So it's ARCA Funds, ARCA Funds, FUNDS, and they're bringing together the product that's going to win, in my opinion. No money, no relationship with them, just know them professionally, but I think they're the ones who are going to win. And so it's pretty neat. It's really neat to watch. It's sad that we've got to go through these trials, these political tribulations, these infightings, but that's the way the world works. I mean, lions eat zebras. That's how lions win. I mean, it's the way the world goes. New lions grow up and they eat the old lions. That's just the way the world goes, and we're watching that. I mean, the world's different. Everything's tracked. Everything's out there, and we now have a president, whether people like him or not, is getting a lot of yeoman's work done in cleaning up, bad behaviors, really bad behaviors that have been in existence for, who knows how long. So that's, those are some of the things that are coming through I saw this week. On the local front with capital markets branding, I'm excited because we have this project with Vesta Builders where with Scott Schmidt, we're starting to do the pre-framing of the company, the branding. We're starting to, at one of their projects, 515 Ionia, which was a historical property here in Lansing. Lots of great local history. Lucille Beelen, she was a founding matriarch of the Lansing business community, the female business community, women in business, back long before in the 50s and 60s of 1950, 1960 is when she came of age. She just did a wonderful job helping to build out Lansing and build out the climate for women to participate in business and politics here in Michigan. So her properties fell into ill repair about a block from the state capitol, and it's just a wonderful story. Scott at Vesta, he's rehabbing these properties. It's a brownfield redevelopment. They'll be wonderful, wonderful green, energy efficient solar. His projects all have a soul, and I'm so honored to be able to pitch in and help frame his branding out into the investor community. In a conversation today, it looks like we've got the start for helping with a makeup business, a cosmetics line, which will be a really fun project. And that will also lead to a lot of outreach materials, digital materials into entrepreneurs who want to start up real market businesses, who maybe haven't done it before, that may need help with branding and capital raising and all of that stuff that comes with building a company. So it's been an exciting time this week here at Capital Markets Branding. It's been an exciting time watching the news. And then for kicks and giggles, one last thing to just close out what the hell happened this week in the world, because it was a majorly big week. The link that I have here is charismanews.com. It was just the first link I grabbed off of Google, but Pope Francis signed a covenant with Sunni religious leaders, which it looks like it's the start to a political shift towards a one world religion. It won't be all that popular if people actually read through it and get into their proclivities. So that was a pretty big week there. I'm not sure you'll hear anything about it unless you go digging. It was a big week, and thanks for listening, and look forward to talking to you all in the future.